Hello and welcome to this presentation from the Catholic Apostle Center, given by Kate Fowler. This presentation is given for the National Christ Child Society and its local chapters to assist in the development and maintenance of their social media presences.
Today we're going to be talking about using social media to connect people to your Christ Child Society chapter. Specifically, we'll be going over Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. As we begin this presentation, I'd like to give a brief overview of a few of the social media platforms that you'll be using as a chapter. The first is Twitter with 330 million active users. The second is Instagram with about 800 million active users. And the third is Facebook with a little over 2 billion. I've also included links to the National Christ Child Society account information below, so be sure to follow and like these pages. I also wanted to include a few statistics for each social media platform, so be sure to check out the bullet points below. First, Twitter. Twitter has recently expanded their character limit to 280 characters, so you have that many characters to use in order to share news, updates, inspiration, and more importantly, to direct people to your site or to other social media platforms like your Facebook page. Second, Instagram. Instagram has currently 800 million accounts and it has seen increased growth and very rapid growth in the last 2 years. It's now twice the size of Twitter. It's a very photo-heavy platform, so it's great for sharing information about your events and your work, and also sharing inspiration. Instagram can be linked directly to Facebook, and so anything you share on that can be shared directly onto your Facebook page. So that's just something that's easy to use and something to consider as you think about having an Instagram account and sharing content. Third is Facebook, and this is by far the largest social media platform in use with over 2 billion users. I've included a list of statistics below showing some of the age demographics that might help you as you begin to post content. Facebook is excellent for updates, for sharing events, for uploading photos and videos, and sharing a little bit longer content than you would on Twitter and Instagram. It can direct your audience to a specific website or blog, and you're not limited to a certain type of post. Facebook is probably where your chapter will be spending most of its energy for social media. Why use Facebook? Well, your members, potential members, volunteers, and donors already are. Facebook keeps people informed and interested when you share your events, your news, and updates. It's also a free and easy way to share your mission and to empower others to join. And it's a free way to ask for financial support and receive donations to promote your mission. As you begin developing your Facebook page and starting to craft posts, it's important to define what your story is. What is your story as a chapter of the National Christ Child Society? This story should be the meta-narrative from which all of your work takes its inspiration. So it should help you to create a tone that all of your posts have or reflect. And I think a great source of inspiration is the brand values matrix from the Christ Child Society. A few words that should guide and serve as guidelines for your posts are empowering, dignifying, serving, loving, and engaging. And so when we think about these words, we think about how our work is reflecting those words. And you can share how your local impact is fitting into not only the work of your chapter, but the work of a national organization that's been around for over 130 years. So I included a quote from founder Mary Virginia Merrick, "Nothing is ever too much to do for a child." And I think it's important to be thinking about what your story is, who your founder is, what your brand values matrix is, and help that be your guiding post as you continue to create posts and content that you will share on social media. Next, it's also important to define your audience, your mission, and your goals. Who are you trying to reach? What is your mission, and what are these goals? Defining your audience helps you to, again, shift your tone according to who those people are. Define age, gender, socioeconomic status, culture. Thinking about all of these things can change your tone, and it's important to know who your audience is so that you know how to best speak to them. Next, what is your mission? You are a nonprofit organization of members dedicated to the service of children in need for love of the Christ child. And what are your goals? Perhaps they're to gain more followers, to increase engagement, to increase brand awareness, or to gain donors and volunteers. Next, we're going to discuss what to post. You can share others' content that aligns with your mission and goals. You can create new content, or you can repackage content that you're already creating. So I've included 3 examples below. The first is a shared post from the National Christ Child Society of work being done in Atlanta. So that's an example of the National Christ Child Society sharing work and inspiration from a local chapter. The second is creating new content. I have a picture of the chapter from Cape May County who created an event and is sharing information about that event and inviting others to join. So that's an example of creating new content. And then finally, you can also repackage content you're already creating. So for example, the National Christ Child Society sends out a recurring newsletter. In this example, we have a message from the president. Perhaps this could be a future blog post, or someone could pull a quote from that and share that as inspiration. We don't always have to be creating content from scratch. And so look to things that are already coming out either from the National Christ Child Society or from your local chapter that you can repackage in a way that would be suitable for social media. I also have a few examples of new content below. You can share updates about your work and mission. Again, you can create and share events. You can create recurring newsletters, or if your chapter has a blog or is considering having a blog, you can write blog posts. You can also photograph or record your work and actions and create online photo albums on Facebook or videos. So we have a few pictures from different chapters here. We have some from the Society of Detroit, the Christ Child Society of Detroit, and one from the Milwaukee chapter. The first just showcases, again, some of the great work that they're doing in Detroit, and it's showing not only pictures of the volunteers, but of the people they're impacting and the joy that they're bringing the community. I also have a picture of the upcoming national convention, which is news for your organization and can be promoted as such. And then finally, this picture from the Milwaukee chapter of 3 of their volunteers who were recently on a radio show. And so again, it shows that your chapter is not only volunteering, but is also impacting the community locally. So there are a few examples of new content. Below, I also have 5 posting tips while on social media. The first is be active. It's very important to be consistent with your presence online. So think about, as a chapter, what you can do consistently in terms of posting. What's reasonable and what's feasible? Can you post once a week? Can you post twice a week? Can you post every other week? Just think about what's realistic for your chapter, and then post regularly according to that. Second is be comfortable. It's important to become familiar with using your platform. Learn as much as you can. Look to other organizations or chapters or the National Christ Child Society to get some inspiration and examples of what's working and what you'd like to do as well for your own page. as you create a Facebook page, you can leave your page unpublished if you do not have one already. So that gives you a little time and space to be creative and start practicing with posts, start looking at different ideas, maybe getting a team together and looking at a few options and kind of seeing what would work before actually going live. So that's another tip to becoming comfortable. The third is be prudent. Use catchy words and phrases to draw your audience in. Try not to make posts too long. That way you can entice people. You can invite them into your news or your events or your work, and then link maybe to a longer article or a longer post elsewhere, maybe on your website or a blog. So be sure to keep it short, but also make it catchy, and use powerful graphics and videos. Statistics always show that posts with graphics or videos get the most engagement. Also, be current. Don't let your news, posts, or information go stale. You want to be sharing things that are upcoming, things that you're excited about, or things that have recently occurred. And you want to be timely. Share what's newsworthy and engaging. Finally, be creative. Try new things. Think outside the box and use varied content. What's great about social media is that you can test something out, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. You can either delete a post or just try something else next time. One feature that Facebook offers also for the busy volunteer or chapter is scheduling posts in advance. If you find that you don't have too much time to post, you can schedule a few in advance and type up the text, upload any photos you're using, and then save those for later. So I included a few pictures of what that would look like on your wall. You have the option to actually schedule the post, backdate it, or save the draft. So, if you want to save the draft and come back to it, or you want to show it to someone else on your team and see what they think, you also have that option. The reason that Facebook includes the backdate option is if you've had a Facebook page for a while and maybe haven't been updating it regularly. They created that option so that you can kind of go back and show content and kind of make up for lost time. So for those of you that do have a Facebook page but haven't been able to be updating it regularly, that might be a good option. Here are some example posts from the National Christ Child Society. They do a very good job of sharing the work of each of their chapters. And on the left, we have an example of a post from the Christ Child Society of Baltimore. In the second, we have a post with a quote from St. Camillus that aligns with the National Christ Child Society mission, and then invites people to check out the website and to get involved. So that's a great example of a post and inviting people to learn more and, again, get involved. The third is a post from the Fort Wayne chapter that the National Christ Child Society shared, just, again, celebrating the achievement of a volunteer in a specific chapter and showing their support for that chapter and that volunteer. So that's a great example of connecting with others in other chapters and supporting the mission of the Christ Child Society overall. And then finally, a post about a newsworthy event. Sarasota installs their new board member, and so this is a milestone or an example of something that should be celebrated for the society overall, and so that is an example of a newsworthy post. Here are a few examples from local chapters. The first is from the Texas capital area and is just an example of some of the work that they're doing, again, showing volunteers and the impact that they're having on the community. The second up top is from the Christ Child Society of Omaha, and that's an example of new content. They created a new event and a new graphic and have shared information about that on Facebook. The one below that is from the Christ Child Society of Boca Raton and shows the infant sleepers donated. But I also loved that picture because it has a logo of the Christ Child Society on the bag below. And then finally, a picture from the Monterey Bay chapter of this rosary making event that shows not only the impact that a chapter can have locally, but also the sense of community among the volunteers. And so it's showing, not only that the work that these chapters are doing is meaningful, but it's also showing that once you become a part of a local chapter, you're also embracing a community, you're creating friendships and relationships. And so I really liked that post as well. A few Facebook event tips. So Facebook events invite your followers, your volunteers, anyone who might be interested in your mission to engage with you in real life. And so they're great for, inviting others into your mission and helping them to participate in real life and taking them out of the social media world and actually into action. When creating Facebook events, it's important to use a precise and short name. If you can invite co-hosts who would invite others and expand your reach. It's also important to include just basic information like the location, the date, the start and end time, to use a powerful graphic that will draw people in. Add any relevant keywords so that if people are searching Facebook events, yours would come up. These are important also to schedule in advance so that you give your audience enough time to prepare and plan on attending. And then these are important to share also on your Facebook page and on your site, along with photos and videos. So share about the event beforehand so people can prepare, perhaps during with a Facebook Live event where you could be having live video streaming, and then afterwards as well where you can show the effects of that event and what it looked like, create a photo album, and that way people can kind of see the impact of your event. And so I included a picture of the Make a Difference Day from 2017 as an example. It's also very important as a local chapter to follow other chapters, other people that align with your mission, and to engage with the online community. It's important to respond to any questions about your events or your organization or your chapter that people will be asking, or any comments that people are leaving on your posts. While posting, ask questions that encourages other people to interact with you. And again, just be sure to respond to those. Like I said, it's important to follow and like other pages and ministries. So look for moments of collaboration with another chapter. It's very important to follow other chapters, the National Christ Child Society, the Mary Virginia Merrick page, any partners that your chapter might have, or your local diocese, or other organizations aligned with your mission. This promotes your work. This ensures that your work is getting out there and invites others to support you and to share it as well. And I have an example of that on the right with the picture from Babo Education, who shared about the Christ Child Society of Tucson and about their work. And so that's just a great example of a partner sharing about the work of a local chapter and how that shares and increases your reach and allows others who might not be connecting to your mission to do so. And then I included a picture from the National Christ Child Society sharing a post from Baltimore, again, supporting the work of a local chapter and sharing the work that they're doing and congratulating them on that. It's also important to monitor the comments that you'll be getting on social media. Sometimes comments and feedback can be negative. And so a few guidelines for handling those negative comments. if the comment is the first time offense, then maybe just hide it from the individual. If these persist, you can think about messaging an individual if you feel comfortable doing so. But at the end of the day, feel free to just ban that individual from your page if you are getting any negative comments or feedback that aren't helpful to the sharing of your mission. Facebook also includes analytics, and so at the top of your chapter page, you have the opportunity to click a link that's titled Insights, and this just helps you to monitor how your posts are doing and how your engagement is overall. And so I encourage you as a chapter to look at that regularly, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, just to see what's working with your posts, what maybe you could do better, and just to keep you on the right track and to help optimize your growth in the future. So to summarize a few of our points made throughout this presentation, as you're developing a strategy as a local chapter, it's important to know your limits with social media and with posting. Know the amount of posting that you're capable of and the frequency of that. And stick to that and just stay consistent. Make sure to create and maintain a tone or story and go back to the brand values matrix or your mission in order to think about whether or not your posts are aligning with that mission. Don't be afraid to take risks. Again, social media is a creative outlet and is always changing. And so don't be afraid to try new things and see what works. And if something doesn't work, that's all right. You can delete it or just try something different next time. It's also important to establish goals for growth so that you can meet those goals and see if you are meeting those goals. So as you create a Facebook page or as you maintain one, maybe give yourself a monthly goal of increasing your likes by a certain number or making sure to post this many times. It's also important to know and address your audience, as that will affect the tone and content of your posts. And then it's important to be prudent about privacy. So when posting on social media, you're posting on a public forum. So just be sure to be prudent about the information you share. If it's private or personal, things like email addresses, phone numbers, physical addresses, just be sure that you're comfortable sharing what you are sharing, and that if you need to create like a general email account or have direct people to something that's a little bit less personal, be sure to do that just to maintain privacy and to be sure that that everyone is engaging online in a safe way. And I just included a few resources for staying current at the end of this presentation. So if you'd like to learn about the latest startup and technology news, social media news, analysis, research, I've included a few links to some great resources. And the National Christ Child Society has also collaborated with the Catholic Apostolate Center to create a how-to page for your local chapter with step-by-step instructions on creating and setting up your own Facebook page. So be on the lookout for updates regarding this. It will be on the National Christ Child Society website. This webinar was produced by the Catholic Apostolate Center in partnership with the National Christ Child Society for the benefit of our chapters across the country. To learn more about the Catholic Apostolate Center, please visit www.catholicapostolatecenter.org.